Today is December 31st, New Year's Eve. It is about 8 in the morning. I just want to share some thoughts. I'm going to be moving some of my videos to YouTube, so you can follow me on YouTube at Vocalmaestro. Look me up, NelsonDelPino, Vocalmaestro, and you'll find me on YouTube. I've been putting stuff on YouTube for a while, but then I stopped because I cover a lot of different topics, and my YouTube videos are basically aimed at, targeted at just a general broad audience. So I cover all kinds of topics that I wouldn't cover on my Facebook page, because on my Facebook page, I'm trying to be more transparent, trying to relate more to people I know, like Facebook friends, and students that are there on Facebook. And so it's a different audience. And so what I'm trying to relate are music tips about music, things you can learn about music business. So I'm going to just give you one here today that I'll be sharing on YouTube and on my Facebook and TikTok page. Okay? To kind of give you an introduction, these are just my thoughts for the new year, things I want to discuss and topics I want to bring up and things and talk about. Okay, so number one, are you overly self-conscious? Most people don't make it in the music business if they aim for a career. Why? Because they're overly self-conscious. Has nothing to do with who you know, what you know, or it has to do with your own personality, your own inhibitions, and things that you're not able to perform, you see, because music is a business of show. The music business is a business of show. So if you can't show what you know, you're not going to get interest from record labels or movie directors, whoever it is, or even be able to promote yourself in music if you're overly self-conscious. It's a little bit like sales, if you want to be a salesman, you want to make money, if you're overly self-conscious, means you think too much or you don't think enough about yourself and what you can accomplish. No one's going to want to buy from you. Your self-confidence is your ability to be more mindful of other people and their needs, rather than being overly conscious of yourself and your needs and your fears and your inhibitions. Don't let your fears and inhibitions control your outcomes. Now, this is easier said than done, and I certainly have succumbed to fear and do succumb to fears sometimes. But it does explain things to me and helps me understand myself and the results or lack of results I get in my life. So let's cover this a moment. Results are usually come because you're unprepared. You're not getting results, but you don't prepare. You assume. You think you can do something, but you've never done it. Well, until you've done it once or done something along those lines, you're not going to move forward. And if you're not moving forward ahead, somebody's going to get before you. They're going to beat you out, right? Just like in a game. Now, the main thing with people, including myself, when I started taking lessons or studying music, I was overly self-conscious about, and I didn't realize that, but I was I was shy. Some people are not shy, and they're overly self-conscious too. But I was so, I wanted to understand everything before I did anything. Want to understand everything before I did anything. So the point is, you got to take a leap of faith. You understand a lot, but you can't really base your decisions solely on rational reasoning. You have to realize that you're taking risks. and that you can improve your odds and your chances of failure, but you can't eliminate them because you haven't done anything yet, right? So let's say you go do an audition and you go out and you want to get a job, or you want to perform in a band. You want someone to hire you in a band. No matter how bold you are, you never know all the circumstances that would factor into their hiring you. Maybe they had a player that they think they have to replace because he was just a drunk, but then he would come to practice drunk, but then he would have to come back and, would want to come back in the band, and so he would commit to rehab. So all of a sudden they're looking for a new bass player, and their former bass player goes to rehab, and then they decide they don't really need a new bass player because they want to give their bass player a second chance. You get what I mean? You have to survey the territory, but you can't really know for sure if you got rejected on an audition, even if you were fantastic. You don't really know all the variables that factor in to the other people's decisions on why they like or don't like your auditions. And maybe they don't hire you, but maybe it doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with other things. But you still got to audition. You have to look for the opportunities and take them where you can. And so that's where the leap of faith comes in. The term leap of faith came from a philosopher called Søren Kierkegaard. He coined the word leap of faith. And that term later became common use in the philosophy called existentialism, which is just basically that you can't know everything and in order to base your decisions. Because if you think you can, and you're always asking questions, then that's good that you're asking questions, but you got to continue to take chances, and while you're improving your odds, much like when you are a race car driver, let's say. You don't want to get killed, you don't want to drive into the wall, but the faster you drive around certain curves, the centrifugal force can only handle so much before you're going to drive right into a wall and get killed as you accelerate on the pedal. Okay? All right, now this is a kind of a convoluted analogy. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying that there's a risk. You want to be a race car driver and you want to be a winner, no matter what you do. But you can minimize the risk with becoming a good skilled driver, number one. If you want to be a musician or artist, get a teacher, learn the skills, and see that the teacher can teach you the skills that you need, and learn what skills you need to have a better opportunity and in order to a chance to have a career, a successful career. If you don't want to, sometimes you need other kinds of people, like a movie director, a producer, a manager. But don't hire your uncle or your friends who think they can manage your band. What do they know? Okay? What can they show that would tell you they know that they can take you where you want to go? Okay? So this is things that takes time to learn, takes time to assimilate. That's why I do consultations. Consultations initially are free, and I can do multiple consultations for you just to help you get oriented and make you feel comfortable. But then eventually I want some retainer fee just to go on, because my time is not unlimited. And yeah, I got to make money. But you don't need to buy my lessons or get involved with me personally to achieve your goals. But it might help. It might help you. And so you can look into it, see what I can do, let me see what I can do, and see if we're a good fit, okay? I had a guy one of these marketer guys, I was interested in his program, and he just didn't have his shit together, and I kind of knew it. Yeah, I can tell when you're talking to a person, you can tell if they're successful or not. But I didn't say anything of the kind, but I could tell that they were very self-conscious as I was talking to them, answering their questions or surveys, and just downright uncomfortable. And it's just because I have a lot of questions and they want to make money, and so they're wondering if I'm yanking their chain. Well, I did a Skype call with the head guy finally. They always send you proxies, other people to screen you. That's why they're doing that. But they're promising you a free consultation, but you're going through hoops and hoops and hoops. You never actually have the principal person on the phone. So finally, I got the principal person, did a Skype lesson with him, or a Skype meeting with him, but it only lasted 10 seconds. 10 seconds. And then all I did was I said to him, you look tired. And because he did. I didn't know why. And then he looks at me and he said right away, he says, "You're full of shit." That's what he said. See, he just thought I was yanking his chain. He doesn't know what his head from his butthole. Not really. But he wants to impress me, where I've been teaching for 50 years and more than 50 years as a private music teacher. But I didn't challenge him. I didn't act. You see, he was not convinced himself. He was overly self-conscious and still learning, which is fine. But wow, I didn't like that at all. I was so mad after that, because I told them I told them in their survey that I didn't have the money that they really spend on their program, and I didn't have the inclination or the willingness at the present time but I wanted to inquire for information. I made it clear what I wanted. But they just kept on, what about this, what about that, as if they hadn't heard what a thing that I had no intention of paying their program, because I wasn't convinced. And I wasn't, but I didn't say that. I just said, well, I can't afford you and I can't, do that right now. I just ask you for information. So they could have just answered my questions and just say, have a good day. And they could have kept me on their mailing list, asked, do you want to stay on our mailing list? They could have been polite and maybe have a customer down the road. But they just don't understand how things work in the real world. They have these dreams. They spend to get money, other people's money to invest, but they don't know how to invest in themselves. Get over yourself, man. That's how you grow. You got to learn to be humble, patient. All these attributes will help you overcome your shortcomings and weaknesses, and to bring you to help so that you may go on forward to victory. All right? And that's what I want for everyone, whether you come to study with me or not. I want you to be victorious, and your own limitations are defined by yourself. But you have to know your limitations and work within your limitations, and then your limitations will become fewer limitations you have for success. In other words, you'll take that leap of faith, but then you will win. Ultimately win, undeniably. Okay, now this is a big subject. Some of you are watching me for the first time. I'm sharing this with my Facebook friends, so this video is going to be, on Facebook and on TikTok. So stay tuned. I'm your Vocalmaestro NelsonDelPino. Take care, and we'll talk to you more later. Bye-bye.